Hello and welcome to Muse and Metrics. This is your host, Philippa Burgess. This is Season 5, Episode 13, and today's topic is Code, Speak, Teach.
I'm Rafna Bash. I'm a Women Techmaker ambassador. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I am mom of 2 kids, so I get busy. I'm also director of Women Who Code Boulder, Denver. I enjoy being out and being with people, organizing events, talking about it, and talking about technology, parenthood, hustling with job and work and life and I have a small garden, so that's my me time, spending some time in the garden. So that helps me a lot to relax. When it comes to programming languages, there is certain things that you need to write in a certain way, then only process. So I started with Java, and it's very particular about how to write each and every sentence, like the function calls, the order of the function calls, the even the semicolon, which always have a debate like semicolon, you miss a semicolon, then you're getting a compile time error, and then there's like runtime errors followed by it because there's so many errors because of that. So it's Java's so particular, but when it comes to Python, it's very comparatively the code itself is more read and write format, so you don't have to worry about the syntax and the order and the function calls and the way you return the code. So that's something. So for me, it's always like, the code is right, but the syntax is wrong, or the order of the function call is wrong. That's the reason that I'm getting this. So why that behaves, why that programming language is behaving like that. And so starting with Java, I always say this to others too. When I say Java's my favorite language, so many people stare at me because it's when compared to modern or recent trending versions of other languages like Python or JavaScript, it's much more easier than Java in writing the code and in executing that code. But for me, why is it my favorite is because it helped me to think about what's happening in the behind. Why is it behaving in the way it is behaving? Like my code in the logic is correct, in my head it's correct. When I test manually, it's all correct. Then it's not correct when I run on an editor. So why it's happening? So it's always about thinking about global variable, local variable, pointers. I mean, C++ with pointers, that was it took some time to understand, but each and every languages that I started with helped me to think about like behind the scenes. So when it comes to Python, it was very easy for me to start with coding in Python because I'm very good with Java. So I always think about, okay, so and I always compare with Java, like why it is different in Python. I mean, like not the data analysis part, but just the programming as a programming language. So I think about like how, okay, so this is working in this way in Python, and it is going to work in this way in Java. So, a comparison analysis. I don't know, like I like technology in that way. I'm so passionate about it. Like I just go dig and dig and dig and see and make myself in a mess, thinking about why do I have to do it? Just do what I want to do. But I spend more time in analyzing what each programming language is about and how they differ each other, how they work in the behind, how it makes sense. So in that way, for me, whenever I learn a new technology, it's easier for me to understand because I've been digging through this for a long time. I had bachelor's in computer science and engineering. So during my college period, we were taught all the things, not just the programming languages. So there was network computing, database, different programming languages, algorithms. And then at the end of the course, we had to do a project on our own. So we did this, making a compiler. So you can type in any code and then this compiler will compile and get the result that you wanted. So it was an interesting choice because we were taught about the programming languages, but we were in the class. We were not taught by any specific programming languages. So we were taught the basics of it, like how each and like the inheritance, the polymorphism, all those basic terms in the programming languages, how it differs between C++ or Java or Python, PHP, all those languages. And then we had to pick our own language for doing a project. So we did with C++. It was fun. and when I think about now these programming languages, like there's so much of plugins now that makes our job easier. At that time, we have to write each and everything our own. There wasn't like enough plugins available. There was like some basics plugins available, and when it comes to design a project, like a product of your own. There's so many frameworks that we can use. At that time, we have to design our own. So CSS and HTML is kind of like, that the one of the essentials that you have to learn before even try to code the backend. At that time, the switch between, so I got the job in Java. So I did the programming for my project, C++, in C++, by learning by myself, like what's C++. And we are a group of people, a group of other friends too. So we all learned together C++, and then I got the job in Java. And so I know the basics of Java. That's the only thing that I knew. So I had to like start from scratch, how to code in Java. And then so now when I think about it, like now there's a lot has changed. Still there is that difference of like how different programming languages varies in different angles. So as I said, some are focused on simplifying the syntax, some are focused on simplifying, having as many plugins as they can, so that it's when you write a program, you don't have to have like a lot of like thousands of lines of codes anymore. It's interesting to see that change. So when you mentioned about learning the languages like Chinese, German, and everything. So I'm from India. We had like in India, Hindi is the national language, but each and every state has different languages. So so 30 states, 30 different languages, not 30, but just giving that each and every state has their own languages. When I studied, we followed British English, and I worked in a Australian company. So we had like Australian clients, and I had to work with the Australian co-workers. So Australian English is different. I mean, the accent is different. And then when I was promoted as an engineering manager, I had to lead teams from UK, New Zealand, and Australia and India. So, so 4 different accents. Even though they all follow like British English, they had different accents. So, and then I moved to US, and it's completely different English. So now when my kids, they learn English in their school and they come back, I mean, it's phonics right now. They are learning the words and letters, letters through their phonics. So different letters have different sounds, and my kid was asking like, why? Why? And so I'm realizing that English is the most complicated language in a way, because there's like for one letter you have like 3 different pronunciation sounds. So and there's no reason for that, and there's no explanation for why it is happening like that. It is just the way it is. And my kid always asks like, why it is sounding this now and not that, especially the C word. It's cat, and but in some words it's S sound. So why? so so I'm learning a lot about now English language, and saying like there's English is worldwide. Most of the countries understand English, so it's kind of like a world language, but it's different. I haven't realized that since till I got here in US, and I realized that some people don't understand me, even though I'm speaking English. They don't understand me, and it's because like I still say certain words in British English. So, I don't realize that. So language, even though in technology, so like everything is a programming language. So what they do is like you write the code and then it executes. So that's the process. I mean, that's the general process, right? And then you mix it with different programming languages and it has different accents. So all these accents are now like, you need to learn it, understand these accents, differential accents in these programs. Everything does the same. Like, you write the code, you get according to your input, you get the output, and the logic and everything is clear, and it performs what it should be. But when it comes to programming language, it's as a common talking language like English. It has different accents. So those accents has to be understand, and then you have to change it. When you're in US, you're speaking in US accent. When you're in Australia, you're speaking in Australian accent. So like that, when you're using Python, then you're using Python's accents and JavaScript, but they all do the same thing. And so it's about like which accent you're comfortable with it. To have like Python or JavaScript to accomplish something. And then there's like so many other technicalities, like what do you want to do, what's your project is about, what your product is doing. And so based on that, you get to define like, I'm choosing this language, I'm choosing that language, all right, so I'm choosing this technology for doing this purpose because it is much more capable of doing what I wanted to do. Languages, technology, and every day we are hearing new framework, new release, new versions of technologies releasing, and it all has different things, that's new features added to it. So a year ago, if you learn something, it's not the same this year. So this year it's doing much more uh, what cool features added to it that makes it more competitive than the other technologies that's available outside there. So it's always better making one technology, they all work for improving the performance in a way that it's the most favorable trending technology that everybody loves it or everybody loves to use it. Learning technology, it's about like there's so many options. So and that's the beauty of it too. It has the negatives and positives together, because so many options, you get overwhelmed with it. Like what should I learn when it comes to which technology, what I wanted to learn, what would be beneficial for me to get a job or like get a promotion, another skill I should add to it, what should I learn new or better at it. And the beauty of it, like you don't have to learn all the skills, you can stick to few things and get better at few of those things, or you can learn all of them and then you can do work on anything that's out there, any technology that's out there. So it has its bad and good way because you have so many options. But I like that too, to have that different options so people can choose different ways. I mean, people have different skill set, right, as a person. So I like that. The way that I learned all these technology is like I'm in that situation that I have to learn it and use it. So C was never used in my work. And so, so there wasn't the path in front of me. It was like, I'm put in this situation. So you just grab the, grab the stick and go, run with it. It was like that. But it's 15 years ago. So a lot has changed during this time, right? So when I was graduating, the things were different than now. So if I'm graduating now, I have more resources available, more organizations available, like to help me think about like which path I have to move forward, or what technologies I have to learn. So when I was learning Java, I wasn't thinking through seeing that whether this will be the one I'm focusing on, whether this is the technology that I should be learning to have to build my career. There wasn't any thought like that at that time. It was like I was pulled into this group, and then I have to do the job. So I have to, like, I'm forced to do that. So right now, so that's what, like, when I talk to other mentees of mine, I tell them now we have so many resources, especially after pandemic. It's everything is online, so that also helps too. But before pandemic, also we did have this. Uh, we did this have a group or organization that give that clear idea and path, saying that, hey, if you're learning this language or this technology, then you can learn the related ones like this, and then you can have a job like that. So whether you're focusing on back end, whether you have to focus on full stack or front end or design or data science, there's so many roles and path defined to each and everything. So it's easier much to understand, like, I need to learn this is my, and again, like, there's always mentors available saying that you need to understand your passion, your strength, to decide on which career you wanted to choose. Wasn't there before, so now I advise. So somebody asked me, like, what you would say to your younger self. So it's always like, uh, mostly, I was thinking at some point I was always able to, like, I should go with the, I'm thinking that I wanted to get into this role or be a senior leader, or I need to trust my gut and say that I should go towards that path. There wasn't any mentors available. There wasn't any organization that helps in that way at that time. So now we have that opportunity. We have that fortunate situation that there's organizations like Google, Women Techmakers, Women Who Code. Everyone is there to help. You ask a question, you get at least 10 replies, responses on your questions, and different point of perspectives, right? Different point of views on that the question that you ask. So there's always help now. So it's always good to think about what path I wanted to go in and learn that technology associated with it. So it's much more interesting to learn in that way, and it becomes interesting, like exciting to learn that technology, because I wanted to become in your case, like, wanted to go with. So my next thing is a miles. I won't call it as milestone, but it's like there's so many space related space tech. So there's so many space related researches are going. We are advancing. We are more focused on space tech than before. Like 10 years before, there wasn't enough, like, other than NASA and couple companies, there wasn't any like known companies that's working on space and its tech, what technology that can be associated, related with it. But now there's a lot of researches happening in that field. I wanted to try and see, like, what could be my path towards it, like, where I'm standing now, where I came from, and what could be my next level, where should I go. So space tech and with generative AI, it's getting interesting for me to learn, like, I should dig my hands in it and see, like, where that is going to go. So I'm teaching my kids about science and math, and now they've started coding too. Like my oldest is 8 years old, so he's more interested in coding and how gaming especially. So he wanted to design his own game, and and he's interested in space too. So we watch SpaceX launch, and everything. So it's always so part of that watching and learning, and I'm also giving him some instructions. And then part of me think about like when he grew up, like when I was at his age, there was no space. Like we learned that Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. That's the only space event that we learned or we know of at that age when I was 8 years old. But now there's so much going on, and I was like, when he grew up and he when it's time for him to decide what to learn or which career to choose, what would be our, how much will be our progress in everything, like especially in space. And because there's more data available, more technology, more improved technology that helps in collecting all these data and makes decisions. And so and with the generative AI, it's more it's more advanced than before. So it's kind of like it's predicting something. We can the in I don't have to be an expert to ask Bard or ChatGPT about in predicting something for me in space tech. Next super event happening in terms of launching or new, what technology is using, how it is used. All this information, it's now more available than before. So it's kind of like curious to know, like, where am I gonna stand in the next 10 years, like after 10 years, and how much we have improved in those technology to capture more information, more data, whether the civilization outside Earth would be possible, what happens to the climate here with the help of satellites, more satellites and more climate focused satellites out there, and with the technology that we are generating, whether we would whether the earth has much more predictions on climate change and the measures to take it, measures to help us make the earth a more enjoyable place to live than now. So that's my future hope too. Like technology help, we can improve our climate predictions and make measures to remedy the problems that happening right now with climate, and then we can um, we can make a more enjoyable earth, more livable earth, like less disease because of the climate changes, right? Ecosystem, destroying ecosystem because of the climate change, we can reduce those. I don't think we can completely remove it, but we can reduce the impact of that destroying our ecosystem and make it more strengthening, like how to strengthen our ecosystem to sustain the human life forever. So that's something that interesting I wanted to see in terms of, like, when you said that inward space tech and then outward space tech is always like exploring other planets, and whether with the help of data and analysis and research, whether we would be able to have another habitable planet or not. That's always like, that's my, I think personally I wanted to pursue my career towards that direction in the future, so that it's much more. And I think it's also like gives me that pleasure of like giving back to the community too, like learn more stuff. And right now I'm doing so many community work. It helps me with that too, like how I can help in that way if I learn so technologies related to that. That's kind of us. It's not a well defined path. Again, I've been through that, so I think I can handle the heat of it, the chaos of it. It's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing more changes in that field. But I always apply for behind the scenes. I can organize. I can come to and introduce like speakers. That I can do. That it's not a scripted one, and I can do that. But it's always that struggle of like making sure it's exciting, what I'm talking about, and it should be like within that time frame, and it should be about this topic, and then being structured and organized in what I'm talking about, it gives me that anxiety of like, I don't think I'm good with that with that structure or format. But right now, like I'm practicing like how to do that. So I'm in different groups of like women public speaking skill practicing and networking. There's so many meetup groups that focus on public speaking skills, and I'm going there. And when they ask me to introduce, I introduce. I mean, there's no script on it, so I will say whatever, and they'll say that you don't need practice on it. You don't need. You're very good with your public speaking, and then I'll start saying that I want good with. I'm not good with these things. That's where I need improvement. And now I'm practicing those skills. Like they're giving me so many tips and doing how to tackle that issue. But still, like I'm working on it. I'm one day I will get better. So part of me is like it should practice practice before, and make it like instead of like a worded sentence, maybe like make it as like as I'm talking to somebody else, and make think the situation as it and present it. I'm not there yet, but I'm still practicing and getting trying to get better at that. But I'm good, but I'm happy to organize events. I'm happy to introduce guests. I can grab a mic and say something that I'm very good with, and I'm happy to do that too. When it comes to could you be the speaker of some of this event, then I hesitate to say yes. To prepare, and another part is like you need to get ready for it. That posture, that mindset, everything has to be aligned to make that talk go very well, right? So when it's not comfortable, your posture is not going to be good, inviting or presentable, like and that shows in our face too, like whether anxiety. So that's also not enjoyable in a way, like when you're saying something, the audience, they are looking at our face and see that we are nervous or we are anxiety, and that gives away a lot of things, like so that's also that fear of that giving away our emotions at that time. That's something also, like get used to it. Get I think it's a work in progress, but those people who can face the audience, that there's not a lot of people like that. So it's just a skill that I needed to improve on and understand. As one of my public speaking group members said, like you just imagine that this is your house, or your group, that all of these people, and imagine that you're talking to them on this topic. And so it would be much more easier. It's always a distraction to keep up with the prep time and focus on that prep time. So I always keep the topics that I'm currently working with. So that's much more easier in a way. Like I don't have to do a lot of research on it, because for the work that I'm doing that research. So I have some experience, and I have some data. I have some knowledge on what this topic is about. That's because I'm currently working, and so it's easier to talk about it and prepare the content of what I wanted to talk. And then always comes to like whether I should be having the scripted way of presenting the topic, or should I be going like freelance on it. Like and someone also gave me a tip, like I'm the only person know that what all the things that I'm going to be presenting at the stage, right? So if I miss something, some point, that's okay, because they don't know if I'm going to say that or not. Or I can change the order. I can, if I remember in the middle of like after saying all of this, then I remember, oh, there was one more point, then I can add it to it and say, I forgot. And it's okay to say that I forgot to include this point in the middle where it was supposed to, or give a scenario or a story associated with, so that audience get that point in a way, like it's not that like oh, she forgot and then the last minute she added it. It's not, it will seem like you're telling a story and then you're getting to the point that you forgot, so they won't remember it as like that's the forgotten point. It will be like, oh, that's a good story and that's a good point, that in that way. So it will fit to my skill set of like improvising and adding something. But that was the point. I have to talk in the presentation, but I missed it, and that's okay. But I improvised and added that content into it by mixing with a story or incident or something like that, so that it's more enjoyable to the audience, and it's like it's very, they'll remember that point, the one that I forgot. So that's one way to do it, and I find that that's one helpful to me in my case. Like if I always think like I have to go through this, there's an order, right? So when you miss that point, then I'm like, what am I going to do, right? And so you can improvise in a way so that fits to my character, and then I don't have to worry about whether I'm fixing. And the timing is the one thing, and I think I'm gonna do that, like having practicing with the time. There's a timer always set and see like how that works well for me. And again, like it's it's not used in a work setting, right? So even though I have this experience, I haven't got into a situation that I have to just present the topic to the team or to the company, right? When it comes to, so it's not like as a technology person, as a developer, as an engineer, I mean, in when it the talking part came into my career when I was promoted as an engineering manager. So till then, I'm just a team member, just coding along and attending the meeting and listening to what my managers are saying, and work according to the flow. But I never attempted to talk, or I didn't feel like I should be talking about something that comes to my mind. That's not the settings in our workplace. So it's always like take an effort to talk in front of others, right? So that's something like it's not practiced in the work environment. And now when so much experience and so much knowledge, and I wanted to share it, then it comes to then that public speaking skill is like where I stand in that with that skill. Then it just gets tested, and it gets remembered. I used to have this, I used to have the skill, and I never polished it. It's there in me, but I never polished it, or never improved it or used it in a way that I wanted to use it as my skill, and give that, spread the knowledge and experience that I have in the industry. So one thing that when I mentor other women in tech people, like, don't wait for opportunity to come and speak. You find an opportunity, speak your mind. That reminds me of like how I got into engineering manager leadership role. Is also like when I started speaking up. I was like an invisible team member in the team that I never spoke up, never said anything, that comes to my mind. Or like when there's like team meeting, and when we in the idea phase, there's always people talking around across the room and giving more. Either I will be voting for something, I'll be saying that this would be a good idea to include in the architecture. That's the only thing that where I use my voice to say something in the team. but I never encouraged, okay, you should talk about it. What do you think? My manager never encouraged me to, not like me, but like there wasn't that culture. Everyone talk about something, and then you decide the workflow, delegations, everything happens in that way, that I never thought about, like, I should be telling something about this. Even though I feel like, probably this is not a good idea, maybe like doing this could be, going another route could be the best way. I i never thought that I have to speak about it. And so when I, in casual breaks and everything, when we say, do you think that, when I ask about, like, I have this idea, do you think that during the meeting this happened, and then they'll say, why didn't you say it? And like, I don't think that I have to talk. And there's like always talking, like, cross talking would be like inappropriate and all those stuff. So in our workplace, we are not taught to like present a thing. We're not taught to speak up and improvise and just talk about something, not just the architectural design meetings, but all about like how the direction the team is going in the performance meeting, right? Performance in meetings also, listen to what your manager's saying, and then that's it. that, that's it. And when they ask about, like, do you have something to say about it, we'll say, okay, I'll improve what I wanted to improve. That's the only thing that we say. And never asked about, like, what if I take some initiative on something that I think would be nice to our team or something. Never encouraged in that way to speak up in the team or in the meetings and present topics. So that also decreased, that also like impacted that skill to be developed. And it's now I'm taking an effort. I think like most of people who works in tech industry, other than the sales and product team, development team, most people, like, there's no opportunity to talk, or there's no need for talking like that. We are giving in, we have our instructions, our workflow, the task assigned to us, just work on it. So that's a most common attitude. So it's never it's hard to understand like whether I have that skill. So it's that identifying whether you have that skill or not, and whether that's a skill that need to be polished and improved and used in the public space, is like it's an unidentifiable skill inside everyone. And it's like depending on personality, that the range of that skill will be different. But I think that's where we are lacking of, like, that's why like I'm seeing more of our community have events that focused on doing events, like talk about a topic, or something like salary negotiation, how to do that, how to how to do career navigation, get a promotion. We never ask for, because it's not that in the nature of that work culture that we should talk about something that we wanted to. So now there's so many communities are encouraging that, like, you should be talking about your career growth, you should be talking about your goals, career goals, you should be talking about methods, ways, measures to get that career, achieve that career goals. That's where now we are encouraging everyone to do it. That's now that everyone is realizing whether each and everyone has that skill in them, to whether it should be awakened and use it for the public stuff. So yeah, so I'm realizing that skill in me, that's like sleeping in me. and, and how to wake it up and like dust it and use it for the good of our community. So yeah, so but it's now I'm into more into that leadership roles, and like there's I myself feel like I should be talking about my experience. I should be talking about my knowledge and give that guidance to the people who would listen to me. And so that is now encouraging me to just don't listen to my fears or anxiety and just go for it. People will love it, people won't love it. So that's always that 50-50 chance of like whoever is listening to will have that chance. But taking that risk, I mean, I've been doing that for a long time, so take that risk and do it. And there will be always that 50 people, 50% of people audience that loves to that take a has something to take away from my talk, and they will learn something on that day. So that's a positive uh, spin I'm taking now when it comes to like attempting to have a conference talk or a presentation on a stage. I'm That's a positive spin that I'm putting on my fear and anxiety, seeing that you know I don't care if I have an anxiety or I need to practice well, and practice makes things more perfect. So yeah, so I'm more interested in doing more talks than before. So I feel like I'm improved. So
I love that. I think that a couple things. I mean, I took a voice class, and I guess I always had it. I don't know how to sing, and I was like, well, I've never been trained in singing, so maybe if I took and I loved the teacher was the biggest takeaways were breathe. Breathing is key. Smile, like the
uh,
audience hears it. They in your voice,
mhm.
your smile.
Yeah.
And the third one was just love your audience. If you show up with love for your audience, they will feel that. And that
Yeah.
love shows up as respect, that love shows up as passion, enthusiasm, just that you care about them.
Yeah.
And then another friend of mine did a PhD actually in esteem, high self-esteem and low self-esteem. And what she found
Mhm.
is a high self-esteem person will go to an event, see the speaker, take away whatever they can get from it, and be very thankful and very respectful and move on with their lives. A low self-esteem person attacks.
Uh,
They're the ones who will
yeah.
criticize and like come up with a
Mm.
complaint and be like and not kind of get what was the value that was being given to them, but find
Mm.
reasons to like knock people down to make themselves feel better.
Mm.
So
I like having getting critic because it's always a way to understand that where I need to improve. I might have not thought about it, whether I'm presenting in a confident way. They're saying like you didn't sound so confident. So then I think, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure about what I'm presenting, but it didn't sound in a way because I have this anxiety. So I need to make sure that I'm sounding confident because I know the topic, I'm confident about it, but it's not sounds as it and I know the reason, so I need to work on it. So always like I like getting, so many people will say that having a negative feedback is like that's discouraging, but for me it's always an encouraging thing because I didn't know what's my fault in presenting a topic, right? It's always me thinking that I'm perfect, right? I'm doing a great content and talking about a great content. But if I don't get a feedback, I still think that there will be fault, mistakes and holes and probably like not research well. I don't know, like there will be so many aspects of it. People are different. Every people have different opinions, different point of view. I like about that as a human being that we all have different views on a single thing. So each and every single thing, if we are going to sit and talk about it, everyone has different perspective on that topic. So I like about getting that negative feedbacks too. Positive is encouraging, so that I can
I
go
I
on.
I would refer to it as constructive criticism versus
Yes.
negative feedback. Negative feedback is someone saying, I didn't enjoy that because I have issues or I'm having a bad day. It's really nothing to do with you. They're projecting onto
Yeah.
you. And in the internet world, you get lots of that all the time. That's their problem, not yours. There's nothing constructive that you can really get out of that particular comment. They're putting their energy somewhere that it doesn't belong. Constructive criticism is the ones that you resonate with. They'll say something to you, and you should have that idea of like, oh yeah, you know, and I hadn't really thought about it at that time, but of course that makes so much sense. That's stuff that I want to integrate. And usually constructive criticism is in Toastmasters, the sandwich. You did this great, you could do this better, but don't forget, you're still great. Keep going.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
In how we deliver our criticism, constructive criticism, it should be constructive, loving, supportive, and encouraging that person to keep going and keep getting better, and that they should resonate with the things you've said. They sort of like, yeah, I saw that too.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, constructive feedback is something something that helps to improve next time. And also, like, it probably not the angle I thought of delivering. So it's all about delivering too, right? I think about a topic, about something that's great, but when I deliver it, it should feel the same way. It should have the same tone, right? So that I'm not, my mother tongue is not English. So whenever I talk about something, I think in my mother tongue, then my brain translates into English, and then my brain translates into the right accent. So, so there's a lot of process when it comes out of the mouth. There's a lot of process that happens behind to get it right. So it won't always work in the way that I want it to. So it's always a learning point for me, like how to work on my communication skill, my English accent, my thought process. Everything comes into that. Like, you know, so certain words, when I use it in a way, I realized that too, from the negative feedback, that it offends other people because it's not supposed to say in that way. So certain words probably, you know, when I say that it's not clear, probably, you know, that's they think I said some other different word, and that makes them offensive. So, you know, I offended them. So in that way, you know, it helps me to improve my English, like, you know, how I use that. And it's everything. That's one thing I enjoy about getting feedback, is like, you know, you tell me what's wrong, and I'm willing to accept it, and I'm willing to work on it. Even like, you know, my posture, my expressions, my wordings, my accent, everything includes in it. Not just my thought process, but also like how I behave, how I stand, how I smile, how my hair, things, or all those things, right? So I take all those things in, you know, as like all of them, even if it feels so negative, it's not talking about my content, right? It's talking about me and how my expressions or my way of talk is not enjoyable for another person. So it's about like how that is affecting. If one person have it, then there will be others also might have the same way that they felt about it. So how to avoid it, how to improve myself. So that's one way I think about, like, all the criticism that I get, to make sure that I'm improving, I'm learning. Whenever I do something, if I'm getting a feedback, then I take it as a way. Yeah, sometimes it's not like I'm not an angel. So it's like sometimes it gets into the heart, seeing that, oh, I spent this much time, I practiced, I did all these things to make sure that I'm not going wrong, and then I get all this. I feel sad sometimes, and most of the times, I won't say sometimes. Most of the time, I feel bad, but it's for 1 or 2 minutes, and then I'll think it like, oh, why it happened? Like, you know, they're saying about this, so I should work on my accent. I should work on making myself clear, talking clear, and or smiling, as you said. Like, you know, sometimes when go through that translation process, I might not smile. So, you know, making sure that, you know, when all these happen behind in my brain, I should smile. So all those things, you know, it's all about, it's like AI, you know, you need to train your brain to behave in a certain way, in a certain settings to those. So it comes to that AI, like, you need to train AI with the data that we are providing and the output that we wanted to get it, and making it improved. So yeah, so I remember in the beginning of our conversation, we were talking about like whether the jobs were taken, the jobs were, AI will take over. So it's not about AI will take over. AI needs someone to always train them to behave in a certain way in certain situations and certain time and all those things. So it's always making our jobs easy as a technology person. It makes our job easy in a way that we train them to do some of the things for us. Like, when we say a problem that's happening, I need a code that works to solve this problem in Python, then AI is generating that code for us. And all we need to do is take that code and improve, and change it in the way that we want it to work, or like for all the things that we want it to work, and add more code into it. So AI will make our jobs much more easier than what we are doing right now. From my experience, 10 years before, without AI, the coding, a simple program would take like hundreds of codes. Now, with all the plugins, it will take like 10 lines of code. So that's the difference, that without AI. So AI will make that job more easier, instead of taking over. So the thing is, like, we need to use it effectively to make that happen, to help us make our jobs easier, in that way. So I, saying that AI is going to take over and we are going to be controlled by robots.
Well, the thing is, when I give a prompt to Bard or ChatGPT that they don't like, they'll simply say, "I'm an AI model, and I don't. This is not. I don't. This. I don't do this."
Yeah.
So I think the thing is, as humans, we have emotions,
Yes.
and we have to sort of, if you're integrating feedback, positive, negative, but especially if it feels negative, if it feels like hurtful in any way, I think the key is not to have that slow us down, to be as robotic as, okay, I can consider that. I can work towards that, but I'm still a human being. I still am who I am. And then I'm going to continue going forward and not have any of that slow us down. Because Bard and ChatGPT, it doesn't slow them down. You can come right back with the next question, but they're very clear about their boundaries. And sometimes they spit out nonsense.
That's right. So I mean, so I've seen, like, in the code itself, like when they generate some code, it's a boilerplate code. It's not, that code is not working in the exactly the way that we want it. We need to tweak it to make sure that it is working in the way it's giving it's working, it's functioning as it's supposed to. But the AI is giving a boilerplate, a sample of it, like, this should work in this way if you're doing this specific scenario. But if we wanted to use it in our own product, or in our development process, like, we should be tweaking it. We get a boilerplate, and it's helpful. We don't have to spend time in writing all of those sentences, and then you tweak it to make sure that it's working in the way that we wanted. It's not making making us spending like hours of working, trying to writing it down and changing it and all the stuff. So just it helps in our way. It's just thinking that that it is giving, like, all the response that Bard and ChatGPT is giving us. We should not be taking it as like something that's given and using it as it is given. It's like we should use our logic, use our brain to, and as you said, the emotions and everything combined, and see that is this what we want? We should change it, and then use it in the appropriate way. So that's what it's a human-made machine, human-made language, human-made model that is working according to our prompt. It doesn't have the full context, or the atmosphere, or the environmental reasons to give us the exact answer or response that we wanted. We are the person who knows about it. What situation are we in? The context that why we are asking that question, and all those things are only known to us. It doesn't know. It just gives that boilerplate answer saying that, okay, if you're asking me a poetry, this is some of the poetries that I have in my store, so I'm going to give you that. Is this what I want? I want some romance in it, and I want some. That's not provided in our prompt. That's not the mood that I am in, and it doesn't know. So it's like, using the poetries that I got and saying that this is my most romantic poetry, that it might not work for the situation. So it's about like how we use the AI tools is important. Like we have that logical reasoning, critical thinking ability as a human being. So we need to use those powers to understand what we are getting from AI tools, and use it appropriately. So that's some of the things that I always so when we talk about our chats about AI, how AI is taking over those kind of discussions, I always talk about these things. This is what we are humans are good at: critical thinking, decision making, logical reasoning. It doesn't have that. It has based on the data that it has and store. It's and how we train them. That much context is available to them, but it's not. They are not aware of full situation that we are in for asking that question. So it's us who needs to use it in the way that's appropriate for that, effective for that situation. I would say, anyone can learn technology. So it's not like technology is hard to do. Getting a job in technology is not hard thing. It's not impossible. But understand a path where we wanted to take it. I have seen people who, because of all the trending and vibes and social media, chats and everything, they think that technology is a cool place and jump into it, and then the reality of it is different. So, and then they are like, in a position where they are finding it as challenging place to survive on. I would say, like, have a plan. Technology is not going anywhere. It's improving every day. We are getting more and more. It's evolving. So it's good to have a, a tech adjacent or tech knowledge in whatever jobs everyone is choosing to do. And so, especially like women, there's a lot of things that we can do in our daily life if we have some knowledge of technology, how we are using the information, how we are using the data, how we are using all the devices in our homes are smart devices. So how we are using those devices to help ourselves in our daily task. So understanding, having knowledge in technology is important in this world. I mean, in this time and in the future too. So everyone should have some sort of knowledge, learn something related to technology that would be helpful in their daily task or like the career that they are choosing to. It is a good path to move forward. So yes. And it's important because everything is now related to technology. Like whatever we are doing, it's related to technology. Like in medical, in space, in military, defense, governmental procedure, everyone is adding on to the technology, different types of technology. So that's improved in there. So it's always better to have in future, like to us human people, that we are improving ourselves. It's always have some sort of technology knowledge to make it useful in your daily task. And it's always comes in the next generation also has to have that awareness of like including. So our curriculums doesn't include that coding or technology history in their curriculum. So they should be taught in that way, like they are ready for the next upcoming events that's happening. I mean, we are what we are building to. So, next generation also has that awareness of like how this can be unfold in the future and how they can choose. They have that options to choose because they have the knowledge.